They called him the Sword Saint, the enlightened warrior who perfected the art of combat through a balance of strength and strategy. His legend transcends centuries, but the wisdom of Miyamoto Musashi resonates now more than ever. In turbulent times, we seek guidance from those who prevailed against all odds. Musashi's journey carved an unmatched path through the battlefield to the realm of mastery. But how did a penniless orphan transform into the most revered swordsman in history? Let's trace his footsteps to uncover the crucible moments that forged Musashi's brilliance, to understand the philosophy that guided his blade, and to unearth principles we can apply to conquer the battles of our age. The story of Musashi illustrates that with adaptability, foresight, and an inner flame, any challenge can be outsmarted. Come and walk the way of the Sword Saint. The Crucible. On a moonless night in 1584, Miyamoto Musashi was born into a Japan torn by anarchy. Order had crumbled. Renegade samurai controlled the land. As Musashi grew without wealth or privilege, survival became skill. While other children nursed on tales in the safety of home, Musashi learned from duels fought by torchlight. Where they saw worlds of fantasy, Musashi saw the anatomy of combat: thrust, parry, slash. He absorbed every technique, honing an instinct born from blood and iron. The sword became his voice, duels his vernacular, and through the crucible of strife, Musashi burned away notions of glory and righteousness, leaving only pragmatism and the way of strategy. He walked alone, an iconoclast sharpened by adversity. Musashi was forged in eras of turbulence and change. His wisdom shows us that challenges can unearth genius, that hardship bears lessons, and obstacles make space for reinvention. By walking the solitary path, one can discover their edge, their truth. The crucible of fire only burns away what is weak. The double-edged sword Musashi peered deeper into combat than anyone before him. He saw that victory arose from a synergy between limbs and mind, that the sword was but an extension of thought. While warriors relied on force, Musashi turned to strategy. He said, "My approach is different. In strategy, your spiritual bearing must not be any different from normal. Your spirit is to be free from harm." For Musashi, the real duel began long before swords crossed. He learned every adversary's history, habits, and psyche. Within them, he saw through to the nucleus of victory. Musashi remained adaptable, unpredictable. He wielded stillness and eccentricity as ably as steel. Many opponents were unnerved before a blow was even struck. Musashi outmaneuvered enemies strategically, then dispatched them with surgical grace. Mind, spirit, body in sublime harmony. This was his secret. The sword that cuts deepest pierces not flesh, but the mind. The Book of Five Rings. As the winter of Musashi's life approached, he distilled his wisdom into the immortal Book of Five Rings. This treatise explores the elements of mastery that Musashi embodied. The Earth Book lays the foundation of martial technique and discipline. Water teaches fluidity, creativity, and strategic rhythm. Fire channels raw force and passion with control. Wind examines the styles and histories of Musashi's adversaries. But the deepest teachings dwell in the final chapter, Void. This ephemeral element enlightens the reader to Musashi's transcendent state of mind, beyond thought and form, instinct and action united. The Book of Five Rings remains a timeless guide to outwitting any challenge. Musashi instructs us to ground ourselves in principle, harmonize passion with adaptability, and unleash the potency of the mind. The book's wisdom reminds us that behind every apparent defeat lies opportunity. With strategic insight and an unconquerable spirit, one can transform obstacles into victories. This was Musashi's path. Will we choose to walk it? The strategy of no-sword Musashi frequently triumphed without even drawing his blade. How? By harnessing perception and untangling the mind of his opponent. He said, "With your spirit open and unconstricted, look at things from a high point of view." Musashi eliminated confusion and fear within himself. This allowed him to project an aura of invincibility and calm. Adversaries often surrendered to Musashi before fighting him, so daunting was his presence. His stillness mirrored the tranquil surface hiding the deadliness beneath. Musashi manipulated the illusions that cloud men's minds. He said, "In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close and to take a distanced view of close things." The Sword Saint's victory was assured long before steel met flesh. The battle is not won by the sharpest blade, but by the sharpest mind. With clarity, one can win before fighting. The two heavens as one. When other schools clung to tradition, Musashi innovated. He pioneered Niten Ichi-ryu, a two-sword technique controversial for its time. Rather than wielding two blades separately, Musashi harmonized their movement. A parry from one sword opened space for the other to strike, transforming defense into attack. This mirrored his approach to life, to adapt freely, use everything available, and integrate separate rhythms into synthesis. Musashi said, "Your spirit is intertwined when united with me." Embracing duality allowed him to find openings and turn the tables effortlessly. Musashi melded stillness and action, caution and aggression, yielding spectacularly precise offense and impenetrable defense. Musashi flowed seamlessly between aspects of his spirit, hard and soft, light and shadow, earth and heaven merging as one blade. This was the wellspring of his mastery. Walking the way. At the end of Musashi's duel with life, he wrote down his hard-won wisdom to guide future generations. These 21 precepts embody the essence of the Sword Saint's philosophy. Musashi reminds us to choose our path deliberately, not drifting with the current, to perceive our limits, yet never accept them. He says, "Do not have a liking for putting yourself in competitive situations." The precepts advise balancing skill and intuition, to polish ourselves relentlessly, to see challenge as a gift that strengthens us. Musashi attained oneness with his craft, a state beyond thought. He tells us, "You will come to be able to achieve a free-flowing spirit." The 21 precepts steer us down the timeless path of mastery, walking a step ahead of confusion and fear, moving fluidly through change and uncertainty. This is Musashi's enduring legacy, the Sword Saint's legacy. Musashi's brilliance echoes through history precisely because it remains relevant today. While eras change, the wisdom to prevail is timeless. Musashi faced his age of warring states with calm, clarity, and adaptation. He transformed chaos into opportunity, defeat into lessons for growth. The Sword Saint turned inward, grounding his skill in lifelong self-mastery. He wrote, "Work on seeing what is really there, don't preconceive."